Hello everyone, my name is Halvey. In this video, I'm going to be showing off a playthrough of EV7 in which I did not heal at all. So in this playthrough, I'm going to start in Lyn hard mode and then go straight into Hector hard mode in the same file. So really quick for Lyn's prologue, I'm going to explain what I had to do here. So I had to move Lyn to the mountains in the northeast of the map so that I don't get hit by the brigands. And then when it comes to fighting Bada, Lyn has to dodge one attack, and this was basically like trial and error, as it seemed like depending on which space I attack him from changes the RNG so that I dodge one attack. I first tried the space to his right and that one failed, then I went to the one below him and it failed again, and then for some reason attacking him from the left space worked and that Lyn dodged one attack. So while the rest of Lyn mode plays, I want to go ahead and explain the rules for the run. So no healing means that I didn't use any staves for healing, and I even took it one step further and I didn't use any staves at all. So no restores, no barriers, none of them. I also did not use healing items like vulneraries and elixirs, and I also never waited a unit on a fort or a gate or any healing tiles. This also means that I cannot use weapons that heal you, like nosferatu and the rune sword. So my unit's max HP is all I have to work with to beat each map. This means that I have to do my best to conserve HP, as units that lose HP too fast, too early in the map just become pretty much useless. I found that avoid and defense tanks are the best units, as well as 1 to 2 range units. This also means that I can't block reinforcements from forts, since I can't allow a unit to potentially get healed from a fort. But Lyn mode wasn't very challenging at all. I gave some XP to some units that I would planned on using for the entire run, like Lyn, Kent, Matthew, Florina, and Lucius. And for this run, I also did not support grind. I tried my best to just build supports as I progress in each map. I'm also going to cut out all shopping and selling vulneraries and stuff. I don't think that's necessary to show. Just know that I sold all my vulneraries and healing items and healing staves, so I had extra money in that way. So now we're finally in Hector hard mode. For chapter 11, what I did was I got the red gem and then I quickly rushed to the boss. Hector kills him in 2 shots. I noticed that Hector just takes too much damage if I try to kill all the enemies, so my only choice was to kill the boss as fast as possible. Then in chapter 12, Hector and Oswin can handle the enemies around them, but I need to get Marcus up to help Hector as fast as possible. Eliwood can do a good job fighting the brigands from a forest tile, and then I found it pretty easy to put Matthew in that mountain tile and he can just deal with the boss from there. Then in chapter 13, I send Oswin and Hector to the left, and they really have no problems over that way. Then I send the rest to the right and down. I try not to let Marcus do all the killing, but I get overwhelmed, especially when the reinforcements come and Guy starts to move. Guy goes into heal mode, allowing me to get back into control, and then I just recruit Guy, and I use him to help me finish the rest of the enemies. Then I just safely kill the boss with Marcus and Hector. In the next chapter, I decided to accept the guidance chapter. So for this chapter, I rescue Merlinus with Lowen and try to stay out of enemy ranges. I use Matthew to deal with the enemies at the bottom, and I send Marcus to go get the village. And then the rest just try to kill enemies where they can. I get Marcus to come to help Matthew, and then at the end I can just have Oswin tank the enemies. In chapter 14, I send Hector to the right. He can deal with the enemies there, and then also the Pegasus reinforcements that come in later. I have Marcus work towards Priscilla's village, and then I have the rest take out the starting enemies. Then I have my sword units wait for those pirate reinforcements so they can get experience there. And then I have Oswin handle Eric and the enemies around him. Then I just have to finish the last few remaining enemies to end the map. So for chapter 15, this is like challenge where I have to guard the throne, but I can't actually put anybody on the throne or I risk them being healed. So what I do is split up my units, sending them to places where they can perform best. I go ahead and take a chance with Marcus on the boss. Eliwood almost dies, but I get him some help in time. Chapter 16 is not that hard of a map since I was able to train Lynn's squad in Lynn mode. There's plenty of defensive terrain here, and the enemies can't really do much to Oswin and Hector, so I kind of just end the map quickly before the Cavalier reinforcements catch up to me. In chapter 17, I like to put Marcus out in front and let him lead the way and clear out the archers and other enemies. Then I go ahead and recruit Raven and Lucius. Then I kind of get worried about Matthew towards the end, but I'm able to kind of put Oswin in position so that he can distract the reinforcements, and then I'm able to end the chapter just in time before Matthew dies. I go ahead and accept the next guidance chapter for 17X because I can get Raven and Lucius a lot of experience. Oswin can do a good job fighting the boss, although Eliwood almost dies. And then I just end this chapter fast, and I just don't even mess with those pirates in the middle. They're way too tough. Chapter 18 is a pretty tough chapter. I start out by using everyone to take out as many enemies as possible. Then I kind of have to pull back a little bit as Marcus is getting low on HP. Then I get to a point where I send Oswin to intercept the Pegasus Knight reinforcements, and I can have Lucius handling one shaman each turn. And then when the third ship comes in, Oswin has enough HP to hold out the last remaining turns, and I can beat the chapter. Then in chapter 19, I use a rescue train to get Oswin further into the map, and then I get to the point where I can promote Oswin. Then I use the rest of my units to handle the top of the map and recruit Fiora. And at this point, Oswin is pretty invincible, but he struggles to hit a lot of the nomads. And then I have him start to fight with Uhai, but he struggles a lot to hit him. Then Uhai moves, which surprised me, but Marcus is able to kill him and end the chapter. Then I go ahead and accept 19X because it is an easy chapter. There's lots of experience to get, and I also want to get the silver card. So I go ahead and do that, and then I just end the chapter as soon as possible before Kishina even leaves. Chapter 20 is a very slow chapter. It's pretty slow trying to work up through that narrow part of the map, and I get stuck a couple times along the way, but I finally make it up to the Galt, and there were a couple close calls earlier on, and then I just want to end this map as soon as possible before reinforcements start coming in, so I can have Oswin just kill Darren, and then I get the last bit of experience that I can, and then I end the chapter. Chapter 21. Oswin does a great job in this chapter as the enemies have really weak weapons. Lots of them have just poison weapons. Then I can just kind of move forward till I can pull Oleg, and then I can just set it up so that I can steal the hero crest, and then I just kill Oleg and end the chapter quick. I also did some shopping and got the villages as well. Chapter 22, another chapter where Oswin just kind of leads the way. The enemies can't hurt him until the mages and shamans show up, and then they can kind of whittle away at him. Then with everybody else, I just recruit Wrath and Heath. I get the treasure, and I can eventually get Oswin to kill Eubens and end the map early. Chapter 23, I actually struggled a little bit because of how Oswin is limited severely in his movement since he's in the desert. There's lots of close calls in this map, and I take a while to recruit Hawkeye. Pent does a good job though killing a lot of enemies, and I definitely had a lot of luck killing the bosses. Then I just kind of clean up at the end and get the hidden treasures. In chapter 24, I have Oswin lead the way, and the others can pick off enemies that Oswin leaves low on HP. I have Hawkeye staying in the peaks for the best of Void, and he does a good job distracting some enemies. Then I reach a point in the map where I need to retreat. There are dangerous Myrmidons with silver swords and lance reavers in this chapter. Then I pull Lloyd, and I almost kill him, but he retreats for healing. And Oswin starts to get low on HP, so I bring up Hawkeye to help. Then I get 2 good hits on Lloyd, and I can end the map. Chapter 25 is a pretty easy chapter. There's lots of experience to be gained here. What I kind of do is just spread my units out so that I can take on all the 3 fortresses at once. Lynn and Florina have a couple close calls, and then when it comes to Farina, I cannot afford her, so she kind of just leaves. Then in chapter 26, I kind of just get myself some space to work with, and I get everyone settled in where I want them to be. I have Lynn dealing with the wyverns at the top of the map. She can do a good job at that with a Lance Reaver. Then I just bring most of the units to the center. I leave Lucius and Raven in the bottom right. Then I bring Hector to the bottom left. I put Hawkeye in the peaks to intercept the shamans and help out Lynn. Then I send Oswin to help out Raven and Lucius. And again, I bring up Hawkeye to help out Lynn. And this chapter is over soon enough. In chapter 27, I have Oswin handling the outside enemies, and then I use the others to handle the indoor enemies. I send Lynn to deal with the wyverns and promote her, and then I send Hawkeye to help her out. Luckily, Oswin can recruit Harkin, so I do that. Then there's going to be lots of reinforcements that I take care of before opening any more rooms. Then I'm just careful with opening the rooms and defeating the rest of the enemies. In one of the rooms, there's some dangerous druids. Then Lucius can do a good job tanking the boss. Then in chapter 28, as always, I use Oswin to lead the way. I want to get him to Zephiel as fast as possible. I use a rescue chain to get Ninian farther into the map, and I really get lucky with Zephiel. He dodges a sniper twice and he takes out a fighter. I don't even try to fight Ursula here, but I do recruit Nino. Then I rescue Zephiel with Oswin, and then Ursula starts to move in the last couple turns, so I just run away with everybody. Matthew dies, unfortunately. Jafar lasts a long time before he dies, and on the last turn, Oswin survives with 3 HP. So then next is chapter 29, the most difficult chapter in the entire run. I have to be really careful with the reinforcement zones. I entered 2 of them, although you only have to enter 1 of them. There's a lot of annoying enemies that rush at me at the start of the map. There's a bolting sage, a purge bishop, and a Valkyrie with a sleep staff. Eliwood with a brave sword can do a good job killing the Valkyries without having to take a counterattack. Next, I pull the Eclipse Druid before triggering reinforcements. I also pull some shamans as well. Then I go ahead and trigger the shaman druid zone once I get into a good position. This also causes some Valkyries to move. Then Eliwood and Oswin take them out, and I just wait till the reinforcements are done. Then I kind of set up to take out the remaining shamans, but Hawkeye gets berserked and I just retreat then. Hawkeye then dies, and I have a Berserk Valkyrie to deal with, and the 2 strong druids as well. I noticed that they won't berserk units with no weapons equipped, so I send in Lucius to make the Valkyrie attack Lucius, and then I quickly go in and kill it with Eliwood. Then I go ahead and pull the druids. I send Heath as bait, they can sleep him. Then I have Eliwood with a brave sword kill them, and there's a close call though. Then I send Oswin to soak up a sleep staff, and he also kills one of the Valkyries. Then I use Heath to bait out a Berserk Valkyrie, and then once I get that thing close enough, I use Eliwood with the brave sword to kill it. Then I go ahead and pull the 2 heroes and defeat them. Then I go ahead and enter the final zone to trigger Vida and her reinforcements, and this also causes all the other enemies to move. So I recruit Vida, and I'm able to finish off the last Valkyries, then the rest of the enemies in the north. Hector does a good job handling the wyverns, but I also bring Raven over to help him out. Then Linus is a really tough boss to beat. It took a lot of effort from everyone, and it came down to a 66 hit by Hector to finish him off. Chapter 30, I brought Eliwood along with me. The enemies in this chapter are very weak. I just had to watch out for the poison that shoots out from the walls. The boss is pretty tough in comparison to the other enemies. I really needed to make sure I conserve HP for him, but I managed to take him out. Chapter 31 is another tough chapter. For this one, I didn't deploy anyone in that lower room, and I brought along Louise with a longbow, as she can deal damage to enemy druids at a safe distance. I send Raven, Lucius, and Oswin down the left side so that I can get one of the treasures, the dragon shield. Then I use the lords with all supports to hold the right staircase, and I just kind of hope that they dodge a lot, and then I'm able to bring Oswin over for some more support, and I get lots of dodges and just keep things under control long enough that I survive the chapter. Chapter 31X is just battle preps. I just bought a lot of equipment. Then in chapter 32, I send everyone to the right and then up to get to Limstella. I just ignore Renault completely, he's not going to be useful for this run anyway. And then I just lead with Oswin as well as the Lords. Lynn can one round the Valkyries with a longbow, but I do kind of get stuck having to deal with reinforcements along the way. Merlinus actually attracts a lot of enemies, which helps a lot. I power through the enemies, but Oswin is killed by a bolting from Limstella, but I continue on anyway. Then Merlinus eventually dies. Hector and Eliwood defeat a lot of enemies to make it to Limstella. Then I use Phila's Might and Lynn to one round Limstella, and I can end the chapter as soon as possible. Then I go ahead and accept 32X because it's an easy chapter with lots of experience that I give to the Lords. Then as I make my way through this chapter, my Lords level up and they have some capped stats. Now their stats are pretty close to being capped out, although I did have a strength screw to Eliwood. Then for the final chapter, I make good use of Ninus' Grace as well as Phila's Might. I send Athos with a Lunatome and Ninus' Grace up to deal with Kenneth's Room. I give Basilicos to Hector and he does pretty good with that. And things are going pretty smooth until Nurgle's Room opens up and Fiora and Florina both get berserked. And then that causes Guy and Florina to die. I have the Lords gang up and kill Nurgle. And then for the Fire Dragon, I can use Phila's Might on Hector, and then use Lynn, Eliwood, and Athos as well to kill the Fire Dragon in one turn. So this was a pretty fun run overall, as it forced me to come up with new strategies to deal with some of the chapters. And with all that said, this is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.